You lost Tomas Francis late on, of course, on Saturday. What's the latest news with him and his hearing?
Yeah, Tom will be having his hearing tomorrow night in Bristol. Obviously, we'll know further about it then. There's a lot of things I could say about the whole scenario. For me, it is typical of us in rugby to do what we do. I'm not making any excuses for Tom. We were told that the referees had been given a directive at the start of the season that contact with his player's head in and around the ruck area was a potential red card, and that when you were looking to play the ball with a foot in the ruck, and so we told the players about that, and it's not something we've been practicing. That said, the ambiguity in it hugely is that really referees should have a choice on whether it should be a red card or not, because the law hasn't changed. So we're going from a situation last season. I mean, the perfect example is one of the clips that the referees were shown by World Rugby that should be a red card was the clip of Will Chudley's incident with Joe Launchbury in the Wasps game here last season. Well, that was deemed to the letter of the law by a disciplinary panel to be no offence. The law hasn't changed at all, so something that was no offence at all last season, it's now been instructed by World Rugby to a certain group of referees that they should now issue a red card. Well, that to me is going from one extreme to the other, and I'm not isolating Tom's incident. He's made contact with Danny Kerr's head trying to play the ball on the floor. The directive on how to referee that now is a straight red card, but actually the laws say that the sanction started a penalty kick, so there is another sanction other than a red card. At the moment, that starts at a penalty kick and can be a yellow card and can potentially be a red card. But I think having a scenario where a referee feels he's absolutely got no option but to give a red card, really that's not what we should be talking about when we talk about protecting the value of the game, and because we've got to remember the players need protecting as well, not just from injury, which is obviously hugely important, and that's probably why these kind of things are getting directed as they are. But actually, we shouldn't also be having scenarios like we've got where it feels like every time there's an incident, it looks like there's a 3-minute trial by TV onto whether any contacts happened. Majority of these things, and we're aware of it from rugby players, happen in the heat of the game, and they're hugely rugby incidents, and they're not malicious and they don't cause damage. And I think we've got to be careful that we keep things, we don't create something that we're really not expecting to create. We're trying to create a protected area for players, which we should do, but the way to do that is not necessarily to go that every contact that happens on a rugby field with someone's head is going to be deemed as highly illegal as it seems to be going.
Is that something you can use as a defence tomorrow?
Listen, I think it's very different when you go into a disciplinary hearing. There's certain avenues. It's very structured, quite rightly so. So the avenues we can go down with Tom are fairly limited. Obviously, we can say that that this has been a directive that really has flipped everything the way it was being refereed for a number of years on its head, where you are allowed to play the ball in a ruck with your foot. You are allowed to regain your feet and I say try and play that ball. Those things are there. If you can see the ball, you're allowed to try and play it. Whereas now, rugby instances can move bodies and things can change and angles can change, and those are all things that should be being used in mitigating circumstances by the officials, and actually almost can't be. And so those are some of the things that we will probably use.
Do you go there? I mean, I'm not expecting you to tell me, but do you go there with in the back of your mind, this is what will probably be a fair sanction for Thomas, or do you just? Yeah,
I mean, potentially, but as I said, it's something that you can't really discuss pre the disciplinary meeting. It's not for me to talk out of turn about whatever may happen tomorrow night.
In sport, one of the things that always, whatever the sport, is inconsistency in refereeing, and I suppose that's also a little bit of a danger here if there is a feeling that maybe they've overreacted with Thomas in future instances where it's a different player from a different team, maybe the sanction will be different.
Well, I don't so much whether the sanction needs to change, but I think what we need is something definitive in writing. What we've been told is that quite loosely, contact with the head may lead to a red card. That's what we've been told. We've been shown the clips, so as I said, we've been shown clips that were under the current laws as they stand, were deemed by a disciplinary panel to be no offence, and those clips are the making of the directive. So as I said, there's a huge amount of ambiguity there, and I think until we see something in writing that says this is what our referees have been told and this is how we expect them to referee, then I think it's putting referees it's actually putting referees in a difficult scenario in the fact that it's taking away all their decision making, because in effect Matt Carley, and he said it himself in the game, I have no option. He's been told that contact with the head is a red card. Well, there isn't many people who have watched that and said, really, do we really want to be sending players off and removing players from the field of play for that? And I think, if you look to the incident in the Worcester-Gloucester draw a couple of weeks ago, where a referee gets told there's contact with the head with an arm that's away from the body, and he feels he's got no option but to call it a red card. Well, I can't believe as many people have watched that and said it's a red card. So I just think it would be nice to have a little bit of clarity around what we're really expecting from everybody.